Hey friends, Lucian here with the Bullish Bears team, making the watch list video for tomorrow, July 25th. And, I'll show you the combination. I'm doing the nightly scan and Thinkorswim, and then I'm also adding on, what's availability to potentially short within Interactive Brokers. I've actually been trading a lot more recently with doing some shorting and getting used to Interactive Brokers platform. I kind of do kind of like a double watch list, one that I send out to you guys, and then one where I kind of tailor it down to stocks under $10 that are available to potentially short. And then I'm also going to, in this video, start talking to you more about float. Float is extremely important when trading. You want to look for stocks that have a low float because that ideally gets stocks moving in either direction. So when you're looking at float, you're going to want to ideally look at excuse me, stocks with a float of ideally under 20 million shares, sometimes up to 50 million, but ideally you want under 20 million that, and then obviously on top of that, something with a catalyst, like a news catalyst, good or bad, that moves the stock in either direction, whether you're looking to long it or short it. Obviously, good news makes a stock go up, bad news makes a stock go down. So ideally, when you start looking at the watch list, you want to start looking at, if you're doing intraday trading, stocks with a float ideally under 20 million shares. So the way to do that is to go to a company like, let's go over to Yahoo Finance. So finance.yahoo.com. You can search up here. I'll put in one, for example, ETRM. Search for the stock, then click on statistics. And then when you look down here under float, here's where you will see the actual float. Now, instead of having to do that every time you search for a stock, Thinkorswim and Interactive Brokers both do have a thing called shares. Actually, let me see what Interactive Brokers is. Yeah, you'll see I have it under shares over here. It's, we'll compare them both to see, but I look at it as really kind of a gauge. I really focus really in over on shares with Thinkorswim. Shares are going to show a lot higher than usually than the float itself. So if I see something hovering in the 20 million, sometimes even the 30 to 40 million, it's going to be usually a lot lower than that. I'll show you a couple examples when I make the watch list. We'll kind of break it down just to show you the difference. But I don't have time to look at every stock. I kind of get a range, and then I look at up here whether there's a news catalyst or not. So we make our watch list at night, with stocks that hold their highs for the day. We obviously keep an eye on them for the next day, but then we also do trade ideas every day. And on there will be a float tab as well. So when we send out our trade ideas in the morning and post it, that will also have a float tab on it. So you can kind of see. So you'll have a watch list at night of ones to potentially watch, and then ones in the morning that have the low float. So there's several different ways to look at it. So I'm going to start kind of introducing some of this stuff into the videos. Try to slowly kind of incorporate it in to make it easier for you to see, not to overwhelm you. So at least to start right now, I'm going to show you right here shares. You'll see I have shares on all of my stuff here with Thinkorswim. How you add that on is basically go to the toggle wheel, click on customize, type in shares, and then double click on it, and then kind of have it over here however you'd like it. So I have mine right here next to volume, and as you'll see shares over here. I also have it on my Interactive Brokers as shares as well. So as I do my watch list tonight, I'm going to start showing you these and incorporating them. Obviously, you want to look again, ideally stocks under 20 million float with a news catalyst if you want the stock to go up or down, if you want it to really kind of move, pretty volatile either way, a news catalyst helps it. Again, so when you do the we do the watch list at night, you want to look at these stocks here, and then when we post in the morning, pay attention to our trade ideas, because our trade ideas will have a whole bunch of stocks that move in the pre-market. Look for the ones under 20 million volume. I'm sorry, under 20 million float that have some volume going in the morning, and then take a look. You put those symbols up in here, see if there's a news catalyst as well, because no matter what, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow in the morning. So the stocks you put on your watch list, something tomorrow might be moving quicker in the morning. So this is the watch list is a gauge, and then you look at the ones that are going in the morning, and you kind of put it together. And sometimes something that runs really great in the pre-market on trade ideas might not be great, and then something that happens on your watch list does. That's why we have these scans here as well that kind of bring things together. So you really are kind of looking at your watch list, the scans here, and then trade ideas that we post in the morning, and kind of put it all together. Sorry I'm taking so long kind of going over this, but we want to, it's really important to start, excuse me, paying attention to this stuff and not just trading blindly. So let's go to the watch list, or to the scan here. We're going to look for stocks between 30 cents and $30, minimum 500,000 shares with a minimum percentage of 5%. Okay, now, or a minimum 5% gain. Now, here's the thing. I personally really don't trade stocks much over $10 when intraday trading. So we have them on here for the watch list for people that do like options trading, or ones that people that want to, trade bigger stocks. But I ideally trade ones that are under $10. So I'm putting them on up to $30, but when I am trading them, I'm really only doing under $10. So let's do a scan here, and you'll see up to potentially 41 plays that we'll go through here. Okay, so we're going to go over, and the first one we're going to take a look at is tops. So now you're going to see shares over here. Okay, tops shows, this is going to be, I'm not even going to pull up this one first. I'm going to start looking at these ones, because this is really, sometimes you also want to be close, careful, because if something has too low of a float, you want to be careful of that as well. So let's take a look at tops first. Tops, I don't like it, even though it had a lot of volume. I don't like it. ELTK. Okay, so this is a perfect example. This one went all the way up today and then pulled really back violently today. Now, it is a potential low float stock. So it shows 10 million shares. If I go over to Interactive Brokers and pull it up, let's see what they show. Excuse me. ELTK, same thing, shows 10.1 million. But if you go to Yahoo Finance, ELTK, look under statistics, it'll show float is actually 4.4 million. So good news. These Interactive Brokers and Thinkorswim is gauging higher. So I know right off the bat, if it's showing anything under 20 million over here, I know it's a low float stock. So ELTK, I'm actually going to put on the list, because who the heck knows what it's going to do tomorrow. It may go up. It didn't really hold its highs, but it's a low float volatile stock. And I ideally am going to look at it for over my Interactive Brokers one, because I ideally like to play stocks either both ways. So I ideally myself like to have stocks on my personal watch list that I can play up or down, so I'm not so biased to it. So this is a perfect example of a low float stock that I'm also able to get shares to short. Right now there's not many of them, but again, there's a chance that I can get them. So that way tomorrow, if it runs up, hey, I can play it long, but if it pulls back, I might be able to get shares to short as well. Okay, so let's go to the next one here, EPIX. I don't love it. It's a little choppy. CNXR. Excuse me. Another one that's kind of choppy. Don't really like it. MBVX. This one held its highs. Might have some resistance here at 145. I will put this on the watch list. Again, what I'm looking for, MBVX. So keep perfect example here. This one has 9 million shares. Let's go over to Interactive Brokers. MBVX, 9.2 million. Okay, so it is accurate, which is great. And go over to here, Yahoo Finance, MBVX. We will see float 7.3 million, which is less than the 9.2 million. So here we go. Perfect example. These are two stocks that I can play potentially either way because MBVX has shares to short. So this is something that's on my watch list that I can potentially play either way, and they're both low float stocks under 20 million. Okay, hopefully you're following me here and this making sense to you. I'm going to keep repetitions the key, so I'm going to keep going through and doing this. ACRX. Now this is one held its highs, has some volume. This is a one I will put on my watch list, ACRX. Now, you could say 45 million. This is up kind of high. Let's take a look at Interactive Brokers, ACRX. It is potentially shortable. I don't like candlesticks that are like this. This drives me crazy. And I don't like ones that have big bid-ask spreads. That's another thing, too, to look at is I ideally like to have a bid-ask spread, a bid-ask spread of like 2, maybe 3 cents. I don't like the 5 and 10 cent ones. This I really don't like. It creates these crazy candlesticks. So honestly, looking at this, I don't like it. I'm personally actually going to take it off my watch list, but just to go to show you again off of ACRX on Yahoo Finance, you'll see it's actually a float of 30 million, not 45. So keep an eye on something like this. If it is borderline, sometimes it's a lot less. Keep an eye on it. I personally don't like bid-ask spreads like that. So another thing to potentially look at, that's not potentially, that's very important. You ideally want to look at stocks that have a really tight bid-ask spread so you're not starting off on the negative right away. So again, this is after hours, so I don't know what's going to happen in the pre-market, but I can already tell it's one of these ones that I personally don't like playing these ones that do this. Again, just my preference. So I don't know if I want to put this. I don't want to put this on the watch list. I don't like those candlesticks. So I'm going to take it off. So GNCA, okay, this one held its highs. Thinkorswim might have shares to potentially short. It's aftermarket now. I can't tell. GNCA did run today. Now, 28 million. So let's go take a look at what that actually is. So GNCA did have some news this morning. If you go over, let's go to Interactive Brokers, GNCA, 28.5. Yep, so perfect. It's adding up. GNCA is a float of 22 million, so right around 20 million. So this one was pretty volatile today. It had some good movement today. So right around that 20 million. Had some news. Who knows if it'll run up tomorrow or not, but it is potentially shortable. So this is one I like right around there. It's right around the border here. I can play it both ways. It had news today. Maybe it'll run up tomorrow or maybe it'll pull back. Ideally, I want to play it both ways or either way, whatever one it shows me. But keep an eye up here, see if Thinkorswim has shares available. Look for an ETB. Usually when there's nothing there, you should be able to short it, but just keep an eye on it and watch what happens. IDXG, this one held its highs. Let me see. Okay, NTB, not to borrow. Okay, so GNCA might have shares with Thinkorswim to short tomorrow. So here on IDXG, this one held its highs, had some good volume. Some potential reason. Oh, there might be a potential gap fill right around this area here. Keep an eye on that. See what happens here with some overhead resistance right there at the 50 SMA. So keep an eye on this one. This one might be interesting to play tomorrow or just to watch out for. IDXG. Another low float stock under 20 million. Let me go over to XG. Not sure if Interactive Brokers has shares to short. Not shortable right now, but if you look again at IDXG, you will see that it's an 8 million float and it shows 18 million. So perfect example. See how they're starting to head up here, right around this 20 million and under. This one again was right around 22 million. So these are ideally the stocks you want to look at. CNCE held its highs, has some good volume, right around there, 22 million. I'm sure CNCE has got to be under 20 million. Yep, 14 million float. So that'll go on the watch list. I'm not going to put on my Interactive Brokers one, just again, because like I told you, I'm not trading stocks really under over $10. So, but I'll put it on the watch list here. And just keep an eye on it to play it either way. ETB, easy to borrow, so you are able to short it if there is a chance to short it. SLDC held its highs, has some volume, kind of choppy. Keep an eye on it. I personally don't really like stocks like this. It doesn't look. It's just. I don't like it. It's too. I don't like it. It's too garbagey looking. RVP. This is another potential one. Well, it did hold its highs. Might be potentially going up. It's breaking above the 200 simple moving average. So I'm going to put this on the watch list. RVP. Now, 31 million. I bet you it's close to the 20 million flow. It is shortable, so I like it for this watch list over here. But let's pull RVP up on Yahoo Finance. And 12, look at that. So perfect example. So it's actually 13 million float. And on Thinkorswim it says 31 million. So that's a great one. So that kind of held its highs. You're not going to be able to short it, not to borrow. You can't short it with Thinkorswim, but you can with Interactive Brokers, and it is a low floater. So again, I like that. I like where I can play it both ways. SVON, don't like it. DCIX, don't like it. What else we got here? APRN. Excuse me. This is one that's a very high float, 180 million, 89. This moves like a snail. But it's kind of, keep an eye on it here. It's kind of forming, it's kind of like indecision mode here. It's been selling off kind of a little bit here, but who knows, it might be turning around. So it's one just to keep an eye on. So I'll put it on the watch list, APRN. But again, slow one, high float. CRHM, held its highs, not a lot of volume. Some resistance right there at around the 412 mark there. That's a 13 EMA. Don't like it. NIHD held its highs, had some volume, high float. So again, keep an eye on it. I guess I did. I was looking at this one in the past. So NIHD. Will I put that on the watch list? And I don't like it because it's sub $1 stock, really high float. Did have some volume, but I don't really like it. I'm not going to put it on. RGLS. It's another one of these ones with these crazy candlesticks. I don't like these ones. Potential resistance right around the 117 marker. Now RGLS, let's take a look at the float. RGLS, 42 million, it says 53. Held its highs. It's got these crazy candlesticks, some potential resistance right there. I don't really like it. I'm not going to put it on. IMGN, that one held its highs, has some volume, some potential resistance right here at that 639 marker. See if it can get above that. So held its highs, had some volumes, or had some volume. Now it's a high floater, but this is one that I might look at to play. this is a perfect example, excuse me, of one, if it goes up and then kind of pulls back, if I can short it, I might short, have this on my watch list, a higher volume one. If it might pull back a little bit, it might be some decent gains. So that might be one I might put on a watch list to see. Now, HTB, it's hard to borrow with Thinkorswim, but I bet you can do that. IMGN, that you could get shares with Interactive Brokers, which you can, and IMGN over here, float of 81 million. So again, I'd potentially put it on it, but I'm trying to keep my watch list clean over here, so I'm not going to put it on there. I'm just kind of trying to show you the thinking, but see how I at least could play that if I wanted to potentially with Interactive Brokers. I'm trying to keep my watches more clean, so I'm not going to put it over there. But again, keep an eye on it. If the stock goes above it, well, I will put it on the watch list for you guys to keep an eye on. I'm just not going to look at it myself, IMGN, because it did hold its highs and it did have volume. Just showing you the thinking that's going behind what I'm looking at. DVAX held its highs, had decent volume. You want to see, oh, it looks like it might be right around this $11 marker. See, look for it to potentially go up. Let me clear that. Look for it to go up and potentially fill the gap here, and then either go up and pull back. Now, 54 million shares. Let's take a look. I'm going to put that again on the watch list, DVAX. But take a look at it. Float 48 million. So it's again not necessarily low float, but it might want to go and fill that gap up, and then watch at that point for it to maybe pull back. And you should be able to short it, I think, with Thinkorswim. So that's one to keep an eye on for both ways. AXON. It's got volume. It's holding its highs. It is shortable. So I will put that one on the watch list. AXON. AKCA. Held its highs. Not a lot of volume. Oh, this is one that keeps ending up on the watches, I think, right the past few days. So I think this is a recent company. I don't know much about it. I haven't been trading it, but I'll keep it on the watch list for you guys. FNMAS held its highs, had some volume. Let's take a look at what the float is on this. Sometimes you don't get, so 1.16 billion. That's kind of too high for me. I mean, it's been running up. Might have a chance, like, keep an eye on it right here at this 685 marker. See if it goes up past that or pulls back. Easy to borrow, so you should be able to short it. So I will put that one on the watch list for you guys to look at either way. I don't like it because of the float. BITCF, nope. HIFR, yep. So held its highs, had some volume. Keep an eye on this to play either way. NTB, not to borrow, so you can't short it with Thinkorswim. You can only long it. So just keep an eye on it. RYAM. Don't really like that one. CNBX. Borderline on volume. Somewhat held its highs. It is a high float stock. This is one to watch, potentially either way, because it kind of goes crazy, moves at times. So I'm going to put it on the watch list for you guys. But again, I'm still trying to focus on ones myself personally under that 20 million volume, unless there's something with a news catalyst in the morning. ACOR held its highs. It is shortable, so you can play. Again, when I say shortable, it doesn't mean you should short it, just means you can play it either way. SPEX kind of held its highs, a little bit of choppy, not a lot of volume. But this is one I would personally look at just to see. So it's a low float, somewhat held its highs, kind of weird on volume, hitting some potential resistance right here in the 212 area. This is one I would personally like to look at to play either way. So ideally, No shares to short right now, but I'll keep an eye on it for potentially tomorrow. FMCKJ held its highs. This is a still weird chart. I don't love it. It just seems like really choppy and kind of garbly, so I don't like it. CVRS held its highs, has some volume. I will put this on the watch list. High float stock. CVRS. Let me see. BDSI. This is another one of those ones. I don't like these crazy candlestick ones. And it's got this crazy bid-ask spread. I don't like it. TVRN. This one held its highs. Not a ton of volume. Want to see if it can break above this area here. See what it can do. Some resistance up here. So keep an eye on it. It's kind of one of those borderline ones. There's not a lot of volume to it. I'm not going to put it on there because it wasn't a lot of volume. But it is easy to borrow to potentially short it. So this one might be good to look, just have on there to watch both ways. AGEN held its highs, had some volume. This thing's been really kind of running up. It is shortable. I will put it on the watch list to watch both ways. AGEN. So keep an eye on it. It's been running up. It's been really bull flagging. It's a nice one to watch. Will I put it on my Interactive Brokers one? Yeah, I might put this one on just because it's, well, let me see. Yeah, I might put it on there just for the heck of it because it's been moving. So it's one that's interesting to watch. RNVA, don't like it. TK, held its highs, had some volume. Not really a low floater, but again, keep an eye on it. Look for it to break that 818 marker, see what happens. TK, let's see what it is for float. TK, 53 million. This is one I would really keep an eye on it. See what happens there, see if it might pull back. I'm going to put that over on Interactive Brokers as well. Because you never know, something for news either way might come out today or tomorrow that might move this in one direction or the other. MRNS, not a lot of volume. It's been running up. Well, so look at that. So it's running up. Nice bull flag. Not a ton of volume. Now, again, you're not going to be able to short it over here, but here's a low floater that I would look over here if I can get shares to short and watch it. MRNS is shortable. So there's one that, so it could be potentially losing some steam. We've had a nice bull flag here. Might go up a little bit more. Might pull back. Could want to pull back to that 13 EMA area. You can't short it with Thinkorswim, but I can with Interactive Brokers. So those are the ones that I like to watch and have on my watch list. So I'm having on my Interactive Brokers one. IPWR. Another one that's it's going up here. Look at that. It hit that 310 marker here today. Started to pull back from there. So this is one to potentially watch. I'm going to put it on the watch list. Again, I like it because it's a low floater and hitting some resistance, might pull back more, and I would put it on my Interactive Brokers one. So borderline the volume, it's kind of pulling back, but again, if you can play it either way, you got to want to see if it's going to break above that 310-ish mark and go higher, or whether it's going to pull back. It's a low floater, so it's volatile, so I'm able to play it both ways with Interactive Brokers. Don't like that it's choppy. ACBFF, I don't even want to look at that one. GEVO. So it's low floater, borderline on volume. That's an ugly chart. And ATRO kind of held its highs a little bit. Is shortable. Might be borderline ATRA. Let me see, ATRA. And the float is 10.63 million. It says 29 here. So again, this one might have some volatility to it. So keep an eye on it to play either way. So that's your watch list, guys. So hopefully this helped you a little bit today, gave you some more information. I'll start adding some more of this stuff in when I do the watch list videos, but float is a huge thing. Look for stocks ideally that have under 20 million float with a news catalyst. And news usually happens pre-market and aftermarket. So look at news that happens at night or in the morning, and they can drive these stocks one way or the other. So again, the watch list at night is more of a gauge. Compare it to our trade ideas, one that we post on our fan page. Make sure you like our fan page, Bullish Bears. You'll see the link in the community. Go like us and watch for our posts every morning with the watch list, so you can kind of keep an eye on it and compare it to this watch list. So hopefully this video helped you guys, and happy trading day tomorrow. Enjoy.